Yes, wow. Welcome. Not the Top 20 Podcast Championship recap, sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. This episode and the equivalent for Leagues 1 and 2 are, I think, going to basically be a quite long-winded love letter to EFL football, because this was a tremendous weekend of action. And we're going to break it down for you, myself, Ali, and him, George. I mean, there are now only 7 weeks to go until the end of the regular season. And that's obviously a factor in my excitement, because the results simply mean more. When you lose, there is less chance, fewer opportunities to redeem yourself. When you win, good God, it feels good. George, at the top, Coventry City 1, Southampton 2. Not many beat Coventry at the CBS. What a game this was.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was a good game. And Southampton putting the disappointment of the 1-0 draw against West Brom behind them very quickly after their good run of form. The first half was definitely the home team on top. Lauren went close after about 10 minutes or so, hooking wide. But after that, Coventry had a fair few chances. In particular, one very good save from Perret, who I think all Southampton fans would probably agree was the MVP in this one. The star player who made a string of saves at basically every scoreline to keep Southampton in it.
Possibly one of the most impactful January additions in the league, I would suggest, based on their issues with shot stopping in the first half of the season.
Who was there before.
And no issues anymore with Big Danny P in nets.
Yeah, absolutely. Saints then took the lead with Downs reacting pretty well, I would say, to a rebound off the woodwork. It looks it looks like a tap in on first view, but actually the ball comes at him very quickly and he manages to kind of stick out a leg and divert it home well. Matsuki made it 2-1 before Torp dispatched a penalty to 2-0 to make it 2-1. So for Coventry, yeah, I mean, they'll feel like in the first half they probably should have taken the lead. They'll look at the goalkeeping performance and be frustrated by it. They'll probably also look at the league table and see what happened elsewhere and think, do you know what? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm quite relaxed from a COV POV. Cov POV.
They have already squandered a 7-point lead in about 7 games, so it's doable.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're 7 points clear of Borough still. In second, they remain 9 points clear of Ipswich, albeit Ipswich have a game in hand. They look like they'll probably be fine. Their goal difference is so good that if there is a tie at the top or a tie even for second, they're probably going to be okay. And there wasn't, I wouldn't say, a great deal of concern within the performance itself. They had chances to level very, very late on as well, with Essa and Thomas Asante both going close from kind of the same goalmouth scramble, but weren't able to do it. I mean, the headline here has to be Saints, who just continue to be really strong. They're now 3 points off Wrexham in 7th, but the good news for Saints, I would say, is not only their own good form, but also the fact that where it looked like there was one place up for grabs in the playoffs, Hull's current form, as we'll discuss a bit later, means that there are certainly 2 to shoot at. They have a tricky game coming up in midweek, which is going to have a big impact on their season, because it's their game in hand on most of the teams above them as they host Norwich. If they can win that one, the games start to look a bit easier, with Oxford coming up after that, albeit
Easter is really big.
Yeah,
for Saints. The Saints at Easter.
But
biblical. Ipswich at home, followed by Wrexham away.
The Ipswich game has been postponed.
Because Southampton are in the FA Cup quarter-final.
Arsenal at home.
Oh my good God!
So they've got to rearrange that one.
Someone tell soccerstats.com.
But at the moment, the fixture list I'm looking at has them playing Wrexham away 2 days later, which seems suboptimal.
Yeah.
Hosting Arsenal, not a bad team by all accounts. So anyway, yeah, I mean, Saints playing very well. It feels like their options up front, you mentioned Perret, but I think having basically Lauren and Stewart as your 2 options up front, there's obviously a nice kind of comparison in terms of them both being pretty good aerially. So the kind of the focal point of their attack doesn't change too much. Lauren leads the line well.
Matsuki, like a new signing as well.
Yeah, so they're playing well. And a big game for them, as I say, on Wednesday night.
Middlesbrough 1, Bristol City 1 in the 96th minute. Wow, this was big. Nothing comes easy in this life, but certainly not achieving automatic promotion in the Sky Bet Championship. And Borough's main affliction right now is just repeated poor execution in front of goal and seemingly only really in front of their home fans, which is both confusing in some ways and I guess particularly frustrating. They lost at home to Charlton in midweek. They've drawn at home to Bristol City. They drew at home to Oxford. They drew at home to Leicester, all in the last month or so. 4 home games that with 3 points, and none of them against promotion contenders. That's obviously problematic. Dex, who's a Borough fan on NTT20 squad, has been trying to work through the pain by putting together some stats, which I think maybe have made him feel even more of it. Shots across those 4 home games where they've dropped points: 94 for Borough, 35 for their oppo. XG 8.44 to 2.76. Big chances 10 to 7. So that does help us dig a little bit deeper and suggest that, yeah, they're coming up against very, very low blocks. They are a team that are encouraged to shoot from 20 yards. Hellberg's not obsessed with trying to walk it in, albeit they do try and create those opportunities as well. But when it comes to creating big chances, 10 from 94 shots, not great. And they've given up 1 in every 5 shot that they've faced has been a big chance. And that feels quite Michael Carrick Borough, if I'm honest, like attacking, being really, really gung-ho in your approach, but then also kind of forgetting to close the door at the other end. So, look, I'm again, a bit like Coventry. I'd say I'm less relaxed about Borough. They don't have the points to play with that Cov do. But I still feel like it's hard to consider that this is like a massive issue that is definitely going to haunt them from this point onwards. It could be that it stops at 4 frustrating home games. It could be that there's another one as well. Like both are possible. But, you know, here they had plenty of good chances, either missed or blocked or saved by the excellent Radek Vitek. I think Manchester United fans, if any of them listen to this show, should be pretty damn excited by this 22-year-old keeper that's among the league's best shot stoppers, probably not at the top and possibly not quite in the top 3, but certainly on this showing right up there. Castledine put Borough ahead, and that's interesting to me because the first half of this season, Castledine at Huddersfield scored over 10 goals, scored goals in a variety of different ways, showed himself to have a really good knack for arriving late inside the box from deeper positions and finishing first time, right foot, left foot, head. This was a good finish as well, the only of the game for Borough. And I could see him adding, you know, I wouldn't say straight away that Castledine is an obvious one that has to start every game for Borough, but just based on this and based on the current issue that they have, which is finishing the chances that they create with all the territory that they have, I wonder if Castledine might be worth playing over, for example, Strelec, right? Like, could you do Riley McGree and Castledine and Conway and Whittaker? I just think he, to my eyes anyway, is the most comfortable finisher maybe, and he certainly was in this game. Strelec had an absolute shocker, a 1-on-1 when it was 1-0 up, where, as someone on the squad put it, interesting choice not to go for either pace or accuracy. Power or accuracy. And then, yeah, Bristol City, it was only 1-0. They'd obviously been up against it for the whole game, but went close with one set piece. I think it was Pring. And then 96th minute, Vitek up for the corner, the keeper, near post, aimed at him just over his head. Adam Randall in like a wrecking ball to head home for 1-1. So I think that kind of like, this is part of my love letter to the EFL that I want to put down on podcast paper today, is like, there's so many instances of different things that I just find that help me find football fascinating, and specifically EFL football. And this one for me is not really about Borough. It's Bristol City. 3 defeats in a row before this, tumbling away from the playoff places. Fans getting quite close to mutiny against the ownership, against the decision makers. The fans are fed up. They went to Leicester in midweek. They were beaten super easily by a terrible Leicester side. And some of them still travelled to Middlesbrough on Saturday for an early kickoff. And they watched their team essentially defend for 95 minutes. And then they get a hilarious equaliser, a kind of hilarious point in the context as a reward for their travels. And I love that. And it doesn't mean much for them in terms of the league table, but it means a lot for Borough.
We're at a kind of a weird point of the season now where Bristol City are one of these teams where I think you and I sit here basically knowing that they're not going to go up and they're not going to go down. But if you're a Bristol City fan, you look at the league table coming out of the ground on Saturday, having just scored an equaliser away at a team in second place in the league, and you see that you're 9 points off 6th. There's no way you think there's no chance you can do it. There's no chance that you can get up there. There's no way you don't think, well, hold on, if we win our next 5 games, we're going to be bang there at the end of the season. So there is like a think we go quite early on the beach vibes when actually, rightly or wrongly, belief within clubs or amongst fan bases or within players or whatever to say internally would be so different. And that, the way that Randall runs on to meet that corner, the desire, the celebrations afterwards, looks to me like a team who still think they can probably do something this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Millwall 1, Blackburn Rovers 2. Another shock result involving the teams in the top 3 pre-weekend. Millwall didn't have a shot in the first half at the Den, at home to Blackburn, who had 6 of their own and 1 decent opportunity missed. But Millwall did take the lead, and it was Femi Aziz with the assist, cutting in, left-footed cross, Kundal overhead kick into the corner. Aziz's last 3 assists all came with right-footed crosses. I'm getting quite obsessed with Femi Aziz and what he's doing on a weekly basis for Millwall. I'm probably going to save the kind of full breakdown of that for a happier Millwall week. This is not that, because having gone 1-0 up, there's a big moment where Zach Sturge gets sent off for denial of a goal-scoring opportunity for bringing down the Blackburn attacker. Now,
what do you think?
I don't think he committed a foul. I do think if the referee thinks he did, it's clearly Dogso, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because there's a very, very high probability that there's a very good shot taken at goal. He's running clear. And I'm not fussed about covering defenders personally, and I don't think the laws are either.
No.
I have slowed it down so many times to see exactly where Sturge fouls Ohashi.
Yeah.
And I think that Ohashi runs across him, as attackers do, and I don't think Sturge uses his hands, and I don't think he
sort of... tangle of legs.
There's a tangle of legs, which I personally think is what we see quite a lot of. The attacker basically leaving one of their legs behind in order for it to be clipped by a defender. I personally think that is close to deception, basically. I think a foul should only come
if caught in contact.
Yeah. But it's very subtle stuff. With the benefit of 10 replays, a lot of slow-mo, sitting in a cafe this morning with no pressure at all on me to make a decision, I probably wouldn't give it. But equally, I think it's pretty hard for refs to see that in real time.
I read Alex Neil's quotes off the back of it, and he got a couple of things wrong, I would say. One was that the touch that Ohashi had taken before the foul was made was taking him away from goal. That is definitely incorrect. Like the touch took him central. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, given that there was that covering defender over his right shoulder, which I think was Kramer, but I'm not sure. I think the next touch, again, would have taken him towards goal. There's no way he was going to go again out wide. So that was wrong. As you say, the covering defender conversation doesn't really matter. I think he also said he was 25 or 30 yards out from goal. He wasn't. He was closer to the goal than that, or at least when he next touched the ball, he'd have been kind of on the edge of the area and definitely would have been able to get a shot away. I just hate, there are the handball rule and this Dogso stuff, it's been introduced to try and make things clearer. I think it has the opposite effect. Like, there's now just a conversation about, like, is he going to get a shot away? Is it a clear opportunity? Like, it just...
What I'd say about the Dogso is, I actually think the laws are pretty clear. I just think that the way people don't have that much interest learning what it is. There's so many things in Dogso discussion that have absolutely no impact whatsoever.
Covering defenders.
But people will never unlearn them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they always form part of the discussion.
I agree.
But it's got nothing to do with it.
There's also an issue with that kind of foul where, because Dogso exists, you are massively incentivizing the attacker to try and buy contact,
which is what I think he did.
Once you're away from once you're basically clear from the defensive line, because if you can do that, it doesn't really matter what's coming next. You're probably going to get them sent off. Yeah. And if you are a defender, like, there's also an issue where I think there probably has been a lot of times in the past where clever defenders use that kind of foul when they've been done for pace and kind of run across the back with their arms in the air, pretending they're not doing anything, but knowing they're probably taking someone out. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. If you're a Millwall fan, I think you are livid. I think it's a decision that is probably going to have a significant... Well, it has already had a significant impact on their probability of winning promotion and playing Premier League football next season. And the life-changing impact that has on a football club, getting one promotion to the Premier League will forever change the course of, in terms of revenue for the club itself. But similarly, I think if you're a Blackburn fan, you're saying, hold on, Hashi was clear and they've clashed legs and he's gone down. He's going to get shot away. So.
And I completely agree with what you're saying. And to tie a bow in it, always in these discussions about Championship football, particularly on the telly, the co-commentator always goes, no VAR, of course, in the Championship, so they can't check it. But if they had, I think they might have changed it. I don't think VAR would have overturned that.
No way.
I think they'd have kept
no way.
decision.
No way. I mean, at least they probably shouldn't have done, because if there's an angle which shows that there was no contact on Ahashi, then that's the only reason that gets overturned. Otherwise, he easily could have got a shot away with his next touch.
I'd like attackers to stop leaving their legs dangled behind them for no apparent reason
let's not incentivise them doing it.
It was still 1-0 in the 80th minute, and then Jorgensen, who'd come on, went bang bang, 2-1 Blackburn.
Toff made one very good save as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Tip over the bar.
Yeah, Alabiosu doing what he does best, just bombing on to the byline, sliding across for the first goal, or the equalising goal, and then Morishita with a really nice assist to set up Jorgensen, kind of split the Millwall defence open, and Jorgensen had a fairly simple finish. So it's massive for Blackburn Rovers. Like, I feel like they always have like 2 or 3 quite poor games. You start going, looks like Rovers will probably go down, and then they pull something out the bag, and then they start the cycle again. So obviously the onus is on them to kind of back this up. Bizarre record they've got where only 5 teams have won more games away from home, but only Wednesday have won fewer at home. They've only won 4 games at Ewood Park this season, and one of them was at home to Sheffield Wednesday. So, I don't want to go overboard with Rovers here, other than that it's such a significant 3 points. I think 11 v 11, maybe this wouldn't have ended 2-1 to Blackburn, but it did, and it's big for both.
I'd like to buy stock in Morishita. He's an interesting profile. I saw him live for the first time last Wednesday night, and you normally ask me how certain individuals on your position play, and I always say, sorry, I don't really look at them. But because it was a game of such little quality, especially from Blackburn's perspective, every time they did anything good, it was always him.
Really? Yeah.
And it strikes me like he is a very good player in not a very good team. And if you put him in a high possession team who needs to consistently break down a low block, I think he'll be absolutely brilliant, because he is someone who plays very quickly. His vision is very good. He can play progressive passes on the turn, which are of high quality, and he can play out wide and he can play through the middle. I really like him, and the quality of the assist for the second was really impressive, and I like him.
Expected assists from open play in the Championship this season per 90. At the top, of course, my man Femi Aziz. Next up, Finn Azaz, then Patrick Roberts, and then Ryoya Morishita. Spot on, George. I think maybe starting next season, or maybe just starting now. Why not start now? Sheffield Wednesday 0, Ipswich 2, the only team in the top 4 to win, and significantly making up ground on the teams above them. Into third.
Ipswich, I would say, the biggest winners in the EFL this weekend, probably.
Ooh. Newport County. We'll get on to them.
Yeah, later, a long time later, in about 4 hours. Middlesbrough 1-0 up with seconds left, and Ipswich, who are playing in the 3 o'clock kickoff, that was an early game, see that they have conceded. So they know that a win against Wednesday, away at Wednesday, where they're like 5 on to win the game or something silly, will mean that it's back in their hands, and that they can go within touching distance with the game in hand of Borough. And they struggle. They toil. They don't concede much by way of opportunity, but they don't create as much as they would like to. And when Azon comes off the bench and misses a decent opportunity with 15 minutes to go, they're probably thinking, are we actually going to draw 3 games in a row? Those 3 games coming against Leicester, Stoke, woefully out of form, and then Sheffield Wednesday. But no, they scored twice in the last 10 minutes. Azon scores a nice finish off the back of that miss to make it 1-0. Jack Clark dispatches a penalty well after he was fouled right in the corner of the penalty box by Fazir. And that makes it 2-0 to them. And with Millwall, as you mentioned there, also dropping points, with the team in 5th that we haven't mentioned, although we have done in passing, Hull also dropping points. Suddenly this is just a ridiculous weekend where it couldn't really have gone better, and that's after a couple of weeks for Ipswich where it couldn't really have gone worse. So it wasn't, I'm still pretty alarmed by their performances. It feels like if they do manage to finish in the top 2, that either they're going to have to improve from here or they're basically going to fall into it. Very different to what happened last time they got promoted out of the Championship. It's hard to be overly bullish about their current performance levels. What I would say is Sheffield Wednesday, like I sat here a week ago and said, I really feel like Wednesday are going to have a part to play in quite a lot this season, despite their current position. Since then, they drew against Watford and basically killed Watford's hopes of finishing in the top 6. They very nearly drew 0-0 with Ipswich, which would have been a huge damage to them. If you look at their fixtures from now until the end of the season, like Stoke away is one where Stoke fans probably think there's a chance they can break into the top 6. That's not done yet. It's probably, and that's, apart from that, it's all teams with things to play for. Hull, Leicester, Coventry, Charlton, Borough, and Oxford. Like, as an Oxford fan, I'm obviously happy that we're playing in our penultimate game, but I'm also kind of terrified because for a bad team, they're just never beaten well. Like, they seem to have that they're not giving up despite where they are. They're turning up in games. They're making it difficult for the opposition. And credit to them for doing that, because it would be so easy, especially because this is a group of players who must all basically hope they're not going to be there next season. Credit to them for maintaining at least a passable level of form, even if the points return is pretty paltry.
And there is off-pitch news as well. A new preferred bidder, the second of the process. This reporting from the FootBiz newsletter, which I really enjoy receiving, kind of keeps me up to date with, well, FootBiz. As you can imagine, the Arise Consortium is the name of it. Consists of David Stork, his son Michael, and Tom Costin, an investor in Blue Crow Sports Group. Their winning bid beat rival offers from former Newcastle owner Mike Ashley and another consortium fronted by the former Charlton chief executive Charlie Methven. Wednesday will, I think, with 99% certainty, start next season with minus 15 points in League One. Sources with knowledge of the deal confirmed to FootBiz that the bid from the consortium is worth less than £20 million, so it's insufficient to meet the EFL's requirements to repay creditors 25p in the pound. Dejphon Chanziri is their main creditor, having loaned the club 60 million, so he's owed 15 million, but there's also over 100 smaller creditors as well, many of them local businesses, who will also go unpaid. So the EFL are obliged to uphold regulations they have in place, imposing a mandatory 15-point penalty, and that'll take effect next season in League One. Just in terms of the bigger picture towards the top again, Ipswich climbed to third. They move within 2 points of Borough with a game in hand, and the current Sky Bet odds for top two finish: Middlesbrough 10 to 11, Ipswich even money. That, from a neutral's point of view, is one way of highlighting just how much of a coin flip, or as close as possible, it seems to be right now. And I wonder if you've got any feelings either way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one feeling would be don't rule out Millwall in this. I mean, obviously that kind of 10 to 11 even money suggests that it is
8 to 1, the Millwall
two sides
price
of a coin, but Millwall aren't done yet.
Yeah.
And, had they won, and had they kept 11 men on the pitch, I know they were poor in the first half, then things would be looking very different. Had they won the game, they'd currently be second.
Yep.
So
very fair point.
I mean, both teams struggling a bit. I think with both, we can probably expect to see them improve on their current performances. I wouldn't have a particularly strong view as to who will finish second at this stage. Yeah. It feels like they're two sides who have gears to get into.
It's fun that Ipswich to find them. Have Millwall and Borough still to play at home.
Saturday the 18th of April, Ipswich host Middlesbrough, which feels like it could be a bit of a kind of pseudo playoff final.
Yeah, 3rd of April, Borough host Millwall, so Millwall go to both Borough and Ipswich. Good stuff indeed.
Ali, you mentioned it's 7 weeks until the end of the season, at which point basically everyone who works in football, apart from me and you, will be jetting off on their holidays. So we used to ban each other from taking holidays during the football season because it was too difficult to keep up to date with the leagues, but that has all changed thanks to NordVPN.
Yes, it has. Watching sports while you're abroad, no longer an issue, because with NordVPN, you can switch your location from anywhere in the world in order to access the content that you pay for and enjoy at home. So if you were to go on holiday this week, the midweek games, live stuff, highlights, all of it you could still access from overseas. I also use Nord to book the flights for cybersecurity reasons as well. It shields your online activities from hackers and makes public Wi-Fi safer to use. We do an untold amount of work from London cafes, so that's quite helpful. It's just a great and important addition to modern life.
And we've got an exclusive discount for NTT20 listeners, a discounted price and 4 extra months for free by heading to nordvpn.com/NTT20. That's nordvpn.com/NTT20.
And if you thought it was a big weekend at the top, let us tell you about the bottom. West Bromwich Albion can win football matches, and did. 3-0 winners at home to Hull City of the playoff places. They were 13 without a win before this. It's their first win in 2026, coming in mid-March. Yes, they were aided by a red card in the first half, but they were already ahead when it came. And the player with the biggest influence on the game, Jedley Wallace. What a man, what a legend. Showing speed to run onto a ball forward. Great ability to cut the ball back. Josh Maja sweeps home. We've not seen that from Wallace. We've not seen that from Maja nearly to the same extent that we have done for both players in the last couple of years. Then Wallace presses Charlie Hughes, normally pretty secure on the ball, robs him. Hughes fouls him, last man, red card. 1-0 up against 10 men. How would West Brom manage to muck this up? I think would have been the general feeling in the stands. And they didn't. And watching the game back, watching the highlights back, seemed pretty clear that a fairly simple mantra was helping both Jedley and West Brom as a whole. Run hard, run fast, run forward. That seemed to be the way of it. That helped them be 1-0 up at half-time against 10 men. Hegber, with a really nice trademark finish, is what it's becoming when he attacks the near post like that and finishes first-time cutbacks. Imre had a good game as well. He set up Isaac Price for the third goal in injury time. So just huge for West Brom. They're out the relegation zone because of it. For Hull, they lost last weekend against Millwall. They then beat Wrexham midweek. They played well in both of those games. I was expecting them to continue that performance level and win this one, and instead it's another big punch to the mouth for Hull City. But I think West Brom's the story here, George. They're out of the zone and in it, and second bottom now, Leicester City, who lost 3-1 at home to QPR.
Yeah, I mean, this went the opposite way to how you and I both thought, given the how we spoke about the game on the betting show. And it started, I think, the way that we both thought it would. Jordan James getting on the ball on the halfway line, basically running into the opposition half unopposed and firing a brilliant shot into the bottom right-hand corner from distance. He is so good. I'm so intrigued to know what's going to happen to Jordan James next season, because he came through at Birmingham, looked brilliant, got his move to Rennes, and then the loan to Leicester always felt a bit weird because this was a Leicester team that seemingly didn't really have a recruitment team, weren't doing anything in the summer, and so attracting him, bringing him in the summer, looked great business. He's now scored 10 goals in the league from 3.5 expected. Someone whose quality in the final third has been a huge needle mover, I would say. For
only 21.
I know, for Leicester. Like I still genuinely think there's a chance he could be like elite, properly good.
Yeah.
And I hope, he's obviously having a good season this season. I really hope that the next loan or the next move, either he goes and plays in Liga, or he gets a move to either a Premier League team towards the bottom end or a top end Championship team, which obviously this was meant to be. And then QPR, who've been so poor, and who I was messaging you saying, if QPR lose this game, they're going to suddenly realise that they aren't safe yet.
Yeah.
Turn it around. And Ben Nelson was the protagonist here. And there's an interesting kind of arc with Ben Nelson where he was at Oxford on loan last season when Leicester were in the Premier League. And he was unbelievably good for Oxford, to the extent that when he got a serious injury, the club, rather than cancelling his loan and trying to get someone else instead, liked him so much that they kept him at the club in the hope that he could come back and play in the last 4 or 5 games, which he did under Rowett and was exceptional. So this is a guy that Gary Rowett turned to last season in a bid to help the team he was managing stay up, and he played a huge part in doing that. Yeah, at the moment, and he's had a decent season for Leicester at times. He's still very raw, but he's someone with unbelievable potential, both in terms of his ball playing ability, but also as a defender. He had an absolute shocker here. Like it was a ball smashed up the pitch by QPR, and Nelson just isn't alive to the danger at all. He's kind of running back, like Vale gets there first and nips in front of him and finishes it really well. Just a kind of lack of awareness and a lack of kind of savvy once Vale gets there first. And then QPR come forward in the second, early on in the second half. The cross is played in and under no pressure at all. There was no QPR striker. Neither Coley or Kona were running in to meet the ball. Nelson diverts past Stolarczyk to make it 2-1 to QPR before Ronnie Edwards scores with an unchallenged header from a set piece. Like it's a total mess for Leicester, really. Like all 3 goals conceded are so avoidable. 2 individual errors and 1 just terrible defending from a set piece. And even though Leicester's recent form reads pretty well. Like if you look at their last 5 games, they lost to Norwich, like no huge change there despite the fact it was at home. They now lost to QPR. They beat Bristol City and 2 really impressive draws against Borough and Ipswich. So like the fixture list hasn't been overly kind, and they've taken 5 points in those 4 games. But they're there's more to football than expected goals, obviously, and under Rowett, they will be good from set pieces. So it's not all about open play XG at all. But if you look at their last 5 games, the total expected goals in open play as per FOTMOB for Opta is 1.52 total. The game-by-game figures are 0.41 against Borough, 0.27 against at home to Norwich, 0.13 against Ipswich, 0.4 against Bristol City, and 0.31 at home to QPR in a game where you're leveling behind for much of the second half. Like that, when you've got Abdul Fattah on the pitch, when you've got Jordan James, when you've got Steffi Mavididi, like that is a massive worry. And I said when Rowett came in, I was concerned, probably in terms of the defensive work he would do and the set piece work he would do, it might be enough to keep them up, but it didn't seem like a great fit for their attacking talent. And I do worry that if, certainly the way they defended on Saturday, if they don't improve from an attacking standpoint, I think they are still in huge trouble.
Oxford United are part of this conversation.
Huge trouble.
They so nearly made it 4 wins in a row, but a 1-1 draw with Charlton Athletic. Both goals in this game scored from the penalty spot, which is particularly notable for Oxford United Football Club. Tell me why.
It's so typical that Oxford getting their first penalty, our first penalty in 92 games, was not only an extraordinary decision, but also was then cancelled out by penalty about 20 minutes later. So the first half of this game, there was one shot.
Oh.
Jamie Donnelly whipping one not very close to the top corner after about half an hour. In the second half, Oxford were the better team, I would say. And I don't think that's pure bias. Connor Coventry had a header from a long throw that went wide, but apart from that, Charlton didn't really get anywhere near Oxford's goal. Oxford won a penalty. It's a really strange decision. It's one that you basically never see given ever, where a cross comes in from Sam Long. It's not going anywhere near Will Lancashire, but Kane Ramsey just decides to just give Will Lancashire a bit of a nudge to let him know he's there, and Lancashire goes down and it's given a penalty. And if you're the ref, you're probably looking at that. If you're looking straight at it, you're like, well,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
I completely sympathise with Charlton fans who think it's not a penalty because you never see it given. But I think, you can understand why the referee has given it. It's not like Lancashire just throws himself to the ground, or even if he does throw himself to the ground, it's because Ramsey decides to make a bit of a foolish decision. But normally it goes unpunished. For the second game in a row, Oxford decided to take off a lot of attacking players and revert to a back 5. For the second game in a row, it meant that the game changed quite quickly, and Oxford dropped incredibly deep. Matt Bloomfield said after the game that he was, he mentioned that Oxford dropped too deep in the last 5 minutes. But having said that, Charlton didn't really create anything. But when the ball was cleared from a set piece, I counted, and Oxford had a flat back 7 as the ball got sent back into the box. And Kieran Brown, if Ramsey's was clumsy and doesn't often get punished, Brown's was ridiculous in terms of the decision that he made to take a fistful of Lloyd Jones's shirt, when the likelihood in my mind was that Jones was probably going to foul Cumming, or Cumming was going to claim the ball, or if Jones got there first, Hellick was on the line anyway. A really stupid decision that was a clear penalty that has cost Oxford a couple of points. That is a massive point for Charlton, where had they lost this game, they'd have been right back in it again. Frustrating as an Oxford fan, and I hope that next time we are at home and we're ahead and we're dominating proceedings, we don't hand the initiative back to the opposition as we did here.
Leicester, 38, second bottom. Oxford, 39, third bottom. Then West Brom, 40. On 40 as well, Portsmouth. Now, they play tonight after we record at home to Derby County. Their recent poor form, winless in 4, only 1 point in that time, puts a lot of pressure on this game. They have got 2 games in hand, of which one is tonight. The other is the twice rearranged game against Ipswich. And then Blackburn are 2 points above them on 42. So 5 teams separated by 4 points. Goodness me. Wrexham beat Swans on Friday night, and that was important given that Southampton got that somewhat surprise win at Coventry, so they maintain their 3-point gap to Southampton. It also means that they wiped out the 6-point gap to Hull, which became 6 points when Hull beat Wrexham in midweek, but Hull have now lost 3 out of 4, and Wrexham have won all the other games, apart from the one they lost to Hull, so now they're back to 3 points behind. You get the picture. And it was a strange game, really, because Swans had some chances at 0-0. Franco going clear really early on, and I just cannot believe he chose to shoot rather than get the ball to the feet of the Viper. Having said that, the Viper then did have a really good chance, a 1-on-1 of his own, and like, it's genuinely like shocking when you see Vipotnik shoot and it doesn't go in the top corner at speed. He couldn't quite get it out from beneath his feet. And in fairness, Okonkwo's save was very, very sharp. Doyle punched a really nice pass through to Broadhead, who still had plenty to do, showed some real twinkling toes to beat, I think it was Burgess or Cabango, and then fire in the near post to put Wrexham ahead. Okonkwo made some more great saves. Swansea were pretty decent in this game, I thought anyway. And the second goal to kind of finish it was late on, a Thomason cross, a Doyle header, hit Cullen and went in. So that's the stuff around the game. There was some alternative commentary provided here behind or on one of the Sky Sports channels or behind a red button with the Wrexham owners, with Prutz doing some co-coms. I mean, depending on your view on this, it's either a sort of fun one-off addition to embrace the sort of increased celebrity presence around English football, or it's a massive disgrace and two fingers up to all the other teams who wouldn't be afforded this luxury. Having mostly ignored it on the night itself, you won't be surprised to hear that I don't have a hugely strong feeling either way. What I would say, two main takeaways. I think Prutz might be the most handsome of the three right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not sure what other part of their three lives you would have been able to say that, but pretty confident that he's in the best nick right now, which is pretty remarkable.
Do you reckon when Blake Lively met him at the game, she was like, oh my God, I've chosen the wrong guy here?
Who can say, but yes, I'd imagine so. My other main takeaway is this makes me, or made me remember and appreciate how hard co-commentary is. Because it was a shambles. Of course it was a shambles. They're talking over each other the whole time. It's a terrible, terrible listen, unless you're a Wrexham fan, because you can hear them go like, yes, we scored a goal. Co-commentators get a lot of stick and very little love. And it's really, really, really hard thing to do. It's really hard to not misspeak, to not miss a beat, to make sure that if you have one chance to say something, you make sure you say the right thing. It's actually one of the hardest things, I think, in football media, and this sort of fan zone style co-commentary is a good reminder of it.
It just made me feel jealous, just seeing an iconic EFL duo hanging out with David Prutton with a couple of Sky Sports mics.
Gets back on the sofa next season.
Those are the days.
Am I allowed to say that? Probably. George, 2 home wins. Norwich 2, Preston 0. Stoke 3, Watford 1.
I'll rattle through them, shall I? Norwich 2, Preston 0. The first half went by the book. Ahmed finishing well after a Chris Garden shot was parried into his path. Kenny McLean making it 2-0 with a beautifully whipped free kick, albeit I don't know why Daniel Jebison didn't jump, because if he had done it, would have just smashed him in the face. Maybe that's why he didn't jump. Jebison went close in the first half with a lob that just went wide. But in the first half, Norwich by far the better team. Second half was weird. Weird second half. I'll read you out some statistics.
Please.
12 shots to 2 in favour of Preston.
What?
1.84 expected goals to 0.05 in favour of Preston.
Easy to play when you're 2-0 down.
Well, yeah, game state plays a big part in this, as do a couple of massive misses late in the game. One in particular from Michael Smith, where the ball kind of fell to him in the 6-yard box, and he tried to prod it in with the outside of his right foot and just got it so wrong. Which kind of stat pads, especially at a time where the game was gone. But Preston have been poor now for a while. Again, it's a case where their points tally probably means they're going to have enough unless they just lose every game, which, given the way they're playing, kind of might happen. Norwich, one of these many, many teams where they will look at the league table and they will think to themselves, yeah, if we can just keep winning, you never know. And the interesting thing about Norwich is that they play Hull on final day. So they'll be looking at it with already a better goal difference than Hull. So they'll be thinking, well, if Hull are the team in 6th, and we can get to within 3 points of them on final day.
What is it now?
9, I think.
Okay. Still a lot of football to be played.
Let's just keep treading water. It's 9 to the playoffs. It's 12 to Hull.
A lot of people are saying...
With a game in hand.
A lot of people are saying this, George. Football in 2026 is a simple game. 22 blokes run around for 90 minutes, and in the end, Norwich City win.
Preston lose.
And Stoke beat Watford 3-1. Now, for Stoke, after a 3-3 draw midweek against Ipswich, they've scored 6 goals in a week, having scored 6 goals in their previous 8 games. They've done it in across 2 here.
Yeah. Yeah, much improved at the moment. Stoke, you have to say. Million Manhoef, who started the season so well and had quite a long drought with a couple of really nicely taken goals here, would say that Imran Louza missed a massive opportunity at 1-0, which probably would have changed the game, ironically, from the penalty spot, from which he is pretty good, but albeit an open play, and just skewed the ball wide of the left-hand post.
And his right foot.
Yeah, which doesn't help things. But yeah, Manhoef scored with a nice goal to make it 1-0, and his finish in the second half was decent too. I really liked both of the last 2 goals in this game. When I saw the shot map and I saw where Iran Kunda's goal was from, I just assumed it would be a free kick.
Yeah.
But no, he just got on the ball 30 yards out and looked up and just smashed it in the near post top right-hand corner.
Yeah.
He's got a phenomenal hit on him. And then...
What's the thing? Is it a boomerang? Is that like an Aussie thing, a boomerang?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not surprising that he, of any player in the Championship, is able to put the most mind-bendingly weird bend on the ball.
A boomerang would mean that he would kick it and then it would fly back into his face.
Well, I think if there hadn't been a net there, that might have actually happened. That's how much swerve he put on it.
And then one of the underrated goals of the day, I'd say, from a player who's always pretty unheralded, Sam Gallagher, with just a great touch out wide. And then just a brilliant finish, like really good finish. Not a player known for his finishing. He initially went for the badge and then seemed to think better of it afterwards. But 3-1 win for Stoke.
No, the Stoke badge is cursed. I can't kiss the Stoke badge. I'll get injured again.
Stoke, just another one of these teams who probably aren't going to finish in the top 6, but tell their fans that if they can win a few more games, then they'll certainly believe that they can.
So you are understandably... And you've mentioned it with Bristol City and Stoke.
They're all in the same amount of points.
That all fans are massive optimists, and so they all go like, if we can just win. From what I have experienced currently, certainly of Bristol City fans, and I think probably Stoke fans as well, it is more like there's absolutely no way that we will be able to win that many football matches because we're rubbish and we should be fired into the sun.
For sure.
And everyone should be sacked.
I think there is a difference between I reckon the conversation would go the same way. Yeah, we're obviously not going to do that. But if we did, it's fan brain.
The but, if.
But it's not even
in fan conversation is a hell of a thing.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't take much. Like it's as we've seen, Norwich has strung together 4 wins in a row in the league.
Yeah, I think it's taken a lot for them to do that, George. They've been really, really good.
Yeah, but they were But
so it does take a lot to win.
What I'm
5
saying
games
is
in a row.
it is feasibly possible for a mid-table Championship team to win 4 games in a row.
Yeah,
and if Bristol City or Stoke go forward and win 4 games in a row, then they're going to be in the picture for the division in the top 6. So I'm just saying it's not done yet.
You're all still in with a shout. Birmingham drew 1-1 with Sheffield United. These 2 teams are 7 and 10 points off the playoffs respectively. So if Birmingham or Sheffield United could do what they didn't do here and win next time out, and then the one after and the one, etc., you get the point. Sariki got sent off in the first half here. It was the third last man Dogzo red of the Championship weekend, and another slightly confusing one. I don't actually have really an opinion either way on this. I can see why the referees decided that if Sariki fouls the attacker, then he's denying a goal scoring opportunity and sends him off. But it just looks like a bit of a weird one from the resulting free kick. Ducks whoosh into the top corner. Robinson. This is the second funniest thing that happened in the EFL this weekend after a red card in League 2 that we'll tell you about in that episode. Jack Robinson watches a ball bounce over his head through to Beadle.
Yeah.
And he's facing his goalkeeper, and he's probably, 10 yards away from him as Beadle gathers the ball in his arms, does not let it go for a goal kick, gathers the ball in his arms, and beckons for Robinson to come and pick the ball up off him so that they can play from there. He sort of pops the ball to Robinson, who dribbles it back towards the goal, stops it on the 6-yard box, puts his hand on the ball to stop it, and then takes what he thinks is a goal kick. The play is live, George. That, I'm afraid, is a handball and a penalty.
Right. So when I saw this, it struck me, and I know he's had a lot of success, but is Jack Robinson the most calamitous player in the EFL? It feels like he does more, like where individually you look at it and you're like, what are you doing? Like how, just crazy sendings off, ridiculous own goals. And to do it as a Birmingham player against Sheffield United, the club that he served for so long, is also mad. But then also for Robinson, how's he luck? Good, actually, because City Peck steps up and misses the penalty.
Yeah, Beadle saving Peck's pen. So Dux had pecked Sheffield United, and then Peck Duxed up his pen. Sheffield United still created a chance with 10 men though. Bamford had a header, I think it was, saved really well. Then Bamford scampered in behind to finish a long pass forward and equalise. And I must admit, I was wondering how on earth you let Pat Bamford beat an offside trap, sprint in behind, and finish 1v1 in 2026. Either the keeper should be having a higher starting position here, or the centre-back should be doing a better job. That was the equalising goal. Last bizarre quirk of the Championship weekend, before we take a deep breath. Marvin Dux scored a free kick, beautiful free kick, hit the post 3 times, right? As well as scoring a free kick, and had 3 other shots on target saved.
Wow.
By the Sheffield United keeper. 2 of the ones off the bar were like gorgeous strikes from 20 yards as well. And his free kick, which went in, was beautiful. So we're not far off one of the sexiest hat-tricks of all time, but no one will ever really know about it, apart from Blues fans and me.
Good to see you got your ducks in a row.
Go out!